From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy. A touring Israeli real estate exhibition promoting land in the occupied West Bank is making its final stop in a community north of Toronto today. An online brochure for the event being held at a synagogue in the community of Thornhill says speakers will address questions about purchasing real estate at several locations, including in communities in the West Bank. The international community frowns upon Israeli settlements in the West Bank, considering them to be illegal. A Canadian family has been identified as the victims killed in a single-engine plane crash along a highway in Nashville earlier this week. Authorities say the family aboard were 43-year-old Victor Dotsenko, his 39-year-old wife Rima, and their 3 children. An investigation is underway, with U.S. investigators coordinating with Canadian teams in order to figure out what caused engine failure that Dotsenko had reported to air traffic controllers before the plane went down. Warm weather followed by a cold snap has taken a toll on plants in southern BC, with once blooming flowers and green plants decaying into mush. Andrew Fleming, superintendent for Van Dusen Botanical Garden, says it's a result of year-after-year stress that's pushing some of these plants to the tipping point rather than a single extreme event.
It's not just this one cold event that has caused it. It's these long, dry summers followed by cold, wet winters, and then a kind of unique event like the cold snap that we had ends up being sort of the tipping point where we see a lot of the damage in plants.
He says older plants tend to be more stressed than young ones since they've been through many more stressful seasons. U.S. lawmakers in Alabama have signed a law that will shield doctors who perform in vitro fertilization services from potential legal liability. The services were restarted in the state after a bill came forward responding to a court ruling that equated frozen embryos to children. Republicans in the Republican-dominated Alabama legislature opted to back the immunity proposal as a solution to the clinic's concerns, but shied away from proposals that would address the legal status of embryos created in IVF labs. With just a few days to go until the 96th Academy Awards, the show's producers are feeling good about what they've put together. Executive producer Molly McNearney says the opening monologue is almost ready.
It gets reworked up until the very last minute. He will obsess now over every joke. He has pages and pages and pages. He has a rough outline of the monologue that I read this morning that I think is brilliant. I know it will change 6 more times before Sunday.
Jimmy Kimmel, who hosted last year's ceremony, will MC for the 4th time. This is the Canadian Press. In sports, the Calgary Flames have traded defenseman Noah Hanifin to the Vegas Golden Knights for draft picks and defenseman Daniil Miromanov. The Flames will get a conditional first-round draft pick in the 2025 NHL Draft and a conditional third-round pick in the 2025 NHL Draft. Toronto head coach Troy Ryan wants his team to send a clearer message to opponents going forward. Natalie Spooner had a goal and an assist as Toronto won its 8th game, defeating Boston 3-1 in professional women's hockey league action on Wednesday. On Saturday, Toronto held a 4-0 edge before giving up 2 unanswered goals and eventually taking down Ottawa with a 5-2 win. Kawhi Leonard had 28 points, and Paul George, as well as James Harden, each scored 21, and Los Angeles rallied to win over Houston. The Clippers trailed by as many as 20 and didn't lead in the second half until less than 3 minutes were remaining. From the Canadian Press, I'm John Kennedy.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.